I'm back with book number 20, the final book for 2023 for me. I actually finished this book on New Year's Eve night. Tribes by Seth Godin. Seth is probably my favorite author that's living at the moment. I love the way he writes. I love his storytelling. And I love the focus that he puts on groups of people moving together, making change, making a difference. And that is somewhat of the genesis of this book. Again, Tribes by Seth Godin. He talks about the difference between a group of people being a crowd and actually developing and transforming into a tribe. He talks about tribes in the sense of people gathering together, having shared interests, and finding ways to communicate within that group. He talks about tribes and them needing leaders, but more importantly, leaders needing tribes. And a lot of people want to be in leadership, but he questions whether or not you're a true leader if you don't have a tribe of people supporting you and assisting you along the way. One of the core principles that he talks about is the fact that humans need to belong, and that leadership is not management. Within that group or tribe that you associate with, it's not about managing people, but it's about creating a space for humans who, again, feel this need to belong, to find a space where they belong. You can curate that space, make it comfortable, and then really get out of the way and let people with common interests that want to communicate do that. He makes a lot of statements in the book that I agree with, but one is that skill and attitude are essential. Authority is not. So in these tribes, it's not about having this sort of absolute dictatorship, but again, it's about curating a space, whether it be physical or digital, where people with shared interests can come together, communicate, find out the best about each other, and then figure out the things they want to do together. As I look back at and think back on the notes that I took, he talks a bit about the fact that in today's society, organizations are more important now than they've ever been before. And what we don't need is these sort of generic factories that we've come out of in the industrial age that preceded us. He also talks about, having agency over your ideas. If you want to create a tribe, if you have an interest and you think that there are people out there that share that interest, then you've got to actually take that idea of building that tribe and go to the finish line with it. While there is no such thing as this authority figure that rules over all in the tribe, it still requires people to step up. And if it's something that you want to build, you still have to step up. And again, as he mentions in the book, a crowd is a tribe without a leader, and a crowd is a tribe without communication. You can be in the same proximity of other people who have the similar experiences, but also similar interests and preferences as you do. But if it's not organized, if there's no collective effort to make it into something, then it's not worth gathering in that situation. One of the things he talked about that I thought was really interesting was that if you want to start a movement, you should publish a manifesto. And I think today in social media, it could be Instagram, it could be Twitter, it could be a blog, it could be a vlog, but really putting out there what it is that you believe in is important. And then once you do that, making it easy for people that want to follow along to connect with you. Making it also easy for people that want to follow along to connect with one another. It shouldn't be a follower to leader sort of relationship. It should be this cohesive ecosystem of communication. He also warns against money being the point of a movement. Money should exist to enable the movement, but it shouldn't be the sole focus or purpose. And he talks also about tracking progress of the tribe. Again, if you want to breathe life into a group, it's important to track how that group is progressing and growing into a tribe. One of the things that I think prevents people from starting tribes and starting efforts to, coalesce these missions is that they sometimes believe that being wrong is fatal. And he gives some examples of people who have been wrong a lot, but they were right in the right moments, and that gives them credibility. And that's why the tribes they've started are continuing to grow. He gives some statements in the book that I think are really powerful. And he states that one, transparency is really your only option. In order to sustain a tribe, you've got to be as transparent as possible. The movement needs to be bigger than you. Movements grow and they thrive. That's how they're defined. And they're most clear when compared to the status quo or to movements that work to push the other direction. And so when you're in that situation, it's really about going against the flow of what we see every day. And it's not going against the grain of the flow just to be a naysayer or to be a jerk, so to speak, but you've got to have some sort of definitive line that you draw in the sand to say, this is what we do over here. He talks about excluding outsiders, which might sound a bit harsh, but you've got to, again, draw that line to determine how you define and label the people that are actually a part of the tribe. And despite doing that, he also says that tearing down people that are not in the tribe or tearing down people in general is not helpful. But your goal should really be able to create a movement that builds your followers up and focuses on building up those people versus tearing down those who may not fit into what your tribe is doing. The most important quote that I took from the book is an Albert Einstein quote that says, imagination is more important than knowledge. And for me, imagination speaks to the future. Knowledge speaks to what you've already consumed in terms of information. And so to build a tribe, oftentimes you've got to have an imagination, but the knowledge that you have can sometimes arrest you and make you feel like you're not enough. So all in all, it was a really, really good book. It's a book that I really love. I will find myself, I know in the future, reviewing the notes from the book a lot. I would recommend this book to people who want to get into nonprofit work, political work, people who want to get into mission-oriented work, specifically in communities, cities, states, countries, people who want to be change makers. I think it's a really good book for them to pick up and to take away some good information from. So again, Tribes by Seth Godin, arguably my favorite author that is alive today. Book number 20 for me. If you would have asked me 5 years ago if I would be able to read 20 books in 1 year, I wouldn't have imagined that, but 2023 is the first year that I've done that. Pretty happy about that. A lot of great books. This is one of the better ones that I've read, Tribes by Seth Godin. Check it out when you get a chance. And I'll be back in not that long, in a few days or so, with some books that I've read already in 2024. So thank you guys as always. Like the page, subscribe to the page, and share it with friends as well.